Alright guys, I'm going to go through dumbbell bench press. Probably my go-to move if I had to pick one for pec development. So the reason I like it over barbell is simply the fact that it gives us a little bit more versatility or variability in terms of our arm path or what our shoulder has to do in virtue of not having to be in a pronated position to hold the bar. And also it actually takes the emphasis off the arbitrary idea that we must take the barbell to our chest. A lot of people in my experience, myself included, should not be taking the bar all the way down to our chest. And so the dumbbells done correctly will get you focusing on what your actual range of motion should be, as opposed to, again, that just arbitrary depth of bars to chest. So we'll grab a couple of dumbbells, and go through a couple of the actual things we'll focus on during the movement. First one, again, is a hell of a lot of room to move with dumbbell bench press, which is good. It's going to be very dependent, again, on what your body has to offer. A couple of things that are going to set you in good stead. One, don't obsess too much about the angle of the bench. So I use the angle of the bench to allow me to get a more comfortable, range of motion arm path. So what I mean by that is, if we had a completely flat bench, for me, it can force me, I'll put this slide on, it can force me into almost a little bit internal rotation in virtue of being quite flat. And so with a slight incline, I can get my chest up a little bit more and have that slightly more comfortable arm path for me. So when we're at 90 degrees, for some people that's going to not be so comfortable on the shoulder joint. Of course, you can just duck things down, and anywhere in that sort of, say, 45 to 90 degree angle is going to work. Slight incline for me just allows me to not have to focus too much on having things tucked in as much. It just gets it up there slightly more naturally. I can just focus on the movement. Probably biases a little bit more of the upper clavicular head of the pec, but again, that's not my focus. I think everyone just needs more pec in general as opposed to focusing too much on which part of the pec. So we've got dumbbells, we've got a comfortable angle on the bench. Now what we'll be doing, if you want to actually understand what your arm path or depth should be, get in position, arms up, retract, so down and back with the scapula, and row an invisible bar down, and wherever we can get to, that's as far down as I can get. The only way I can get any further down than that is for me to relax the scapula, and then things will come down, which we don't want to be doing. That's we're going to get yourself in trouble. So there's one place we want to be really stable. It's going to be at the bottom of the movement, of course, where there's most torque on the shoulder and the pec. So that's where we want to be stable. So pulling the shoulder blades down and back, they can move out a little bit, protract. Again, depending on what your body has to offer when you actually get to the top part of the movement. So I don't want to be completely stacking the weight over. I want to be pushing out, and if I protract slightly, I'll just tuck back in. But we basically just do what the pecs will allow us to do. So don't focus again on being super retracted when you get to the top. Just let those pecs work and then get yourself back in position on the way back down. Right, so let's get into our set. I'll flick them up. Good stability with feet and hips. Just get the weights up. I'll have a bit of a retraction. And then I'm rowing down and then up. It can be helpful, you can have your head up a little bit, good mirror, and just see what that arm path is doing. And you can see at the bottom of the movement, I've more or less got the weight stacked over the elbow. I'm not in too much, I'm not out too much. And then just making sure that I don't end up stacked over the shoulder where there's no torque on the shoulder, no tension on the pecs. Tucking back in. So this bottom bit here, this is where you want to be tight. So if someone's going to come and kick my arm, it shouldn't move, it should be locked in. And then if I roll out a little bit at the top, tuck everything back in, rowing that weight down. And can sit up with them or you can drop them, your choice. So really that is the key factors for dumbbell bench, and again, within those things we focused on, there is room to move, of course. So it's just going to again be your arm path, so somewhere between 90 and 45 degrees. Too low, it's going to be very, very dealt. Too up and high, it could be quite uncomfortable. So just sort of general rule of thumb is wherever your upper arm cuts across, that's roughly where you'll be sort of getting the most fibres from your pecs. Make sure we're super stable at the bottom. So again, shoulder blades down and back. If they come out a little bit at the top, no dramas, as long as the pec is the thing that's driving them out as opposed just to collapsing out. Either way, tuck it back in, and if you're new to bench press or new to actually doing it with some stability through the scapula, you should find that your shoulder blades and the muscles around the shoulder blades should be the dominating factor early on. So you may not feel that your pecs get a full workout because that retraction is probably going to fatigue before the pecs fully do. So don't stress, it's just part of the process. That's where machine press comes in, or we'll see the cable fly later on, a bit more stable, converging like machine press will come in nicely. There's not as much stability required, and you can again get those pecs working that little bit more. But dumbbell bench press, it's always going to be money for pecs. In terms of rep range, I like anywhere around about a 6 to 8. I find that's the sweet spot for me. I find anything more than about 8, and scapula just gets a little bit tired, a little bit bored. I might go a bit higher rep on a machine press, again, where less focus on stability required, and of course our seated cable fly, which I think is a very underrated movement. So I hope that helps, and anything that doesn't make sense, of course, let me know. Ciao.